Hi, Diego. Howdy, YouTube. All right, we're here with Scott.
How you doing? Scott from the Living History School channel. And what we're doing today is we're blessing our plank house. We built a northwest coast cedar plank house.
None of the things, because the eyes are no longer open. We have other things like your cameras that remind us that we put it away. And we don't put it away in this memory bank that we have as we did once a long time ago. And it's the same way with these trees. You cut down an old growth tree and you could cut the top out of it and you could see an image of a bear or an image of an Indian or an image of an eagle. Well, at one time, maybe that bear was the one that rubbed up against that tree and it made such a connection that it put its image in there. So every time it crossed that path of that tree, we recognize one another. And that's what we forget amongst ourselves. We forget how to put that up here and set it into that camera where we could put it away and never ever bring it back out. As long as you have it here, and when you get my age, as some of us elders that's sitting in this circle knows, that when you get our age and you're sitting out there alone, a lot of times, all of these good things that you have just witnessed will all come back to you, and you could make that day a little bit better. And this is how I make it. My memories of my grandparents, my great-grandparents. I remember when one time my grandmother or grandfather would grab me by the ear like that and shake me and point, sit down and listen as an elder talking. That's the way it was back in these plank houses in the old days. We all sit right next to your grandmothers, and grandmother will make sure that I learned the lesson so that I could carry on this tradition with you and share some of the stories that come with these things. And a lot of you have the same stories, and as elders, you need to bring them out to the young ones so that they could see, hey, at one time I was a logger. You know, and people said, why did you cut down all of them trees? Well, the one-legged one, it was put on this Mother Earth for one reason, to take care of us, whether it was the warmth of the fire, whether our shelter that we stayed in, or a plank house like this that kept all the memories and all of the spirits together. That one-legged one took care of us. It gave us the oxygen to breathe. And so that's why we put it on our drums, to remind us that we need to respect that one-legged one. Remind us how important that four-legged one is as it walks among us. I remember the stories of the time when the two-legged one was coming. All of the animals gathered down in my place on the river in Northern California. We have a big flat there. All of the animals gathered there in one day. And the Creator said, one of you will be the one that lives with the new one that's coming, the two-legged one. The one that's smarter than each and every one of you. So all night long, the animals got restless. The bear, he jumped up in the middle, he was the biggest. I'm the biggest and I'm the strongest. And he says, I will be the one that lived with the two-legged one. The deer jumped in the middle. He says, I'm the fastest. I will run and win this race. And way in the corner was a coyote. And the coyote says, I am the wisest. I am the smartest. I will take and be the one that lives with the man, the two-legged one. So he stayed up all night and he built a big old fire. He said, if I stay up all night, at crack of dawn when the race starts, I will be off and running and I will be the one. All night long that coyote threw wood on this fire. And just before daylight, his eyes are getting so tired and he was pretty soon he was starting to lay down. And he couldn't keep his eyes open, so he started feeling around on the ground. And he found two little sticks. And if you ever look at a coyote, he's got bags on his eyes because he stuck them sticks in his eyes to keep them open. But just as soon as daylight came, boom! the bear jumped up and the earth shook as he took off and ran up this hill. Pretty soon the deer took off, and he was running right behind him. But the deer could only run a short distance, and the bear could only run uphill. So as he ran, the bear passed the deer, because the deer had to lay down. As they was running, they heard this. What is that noise, they said. They couldn't figure it out. So they took off running, but every time they would stop, that noise would get closer and closer and closer together. And as they got on this top above our Pikiawis in Northern California, they had to run down the hill and run across the field and get on the other side of the river. And whoever got on the other side of the river would be the one that lived with these two-legged ones. Down the hill the bear went, but he could only run so fast because he started falling and rolling. The deer jumped up and he took off down the hill. And all the while, back in camp, the coyote was now just barely moving, and everybody was gone. But as they ran down this hill and crossed this field, the deer looked around, and he says, "I'm so far ahead. I am the one that's going to be living with the two-legged one." And as he got to the riverbank and jumped in, across this field, here comes this dog, and he was panting right along. And on the other side of the river, a crane was fishing. And so the dog yelled out, "Aqua, stick your leg across the river." Aqua stuck his leg across the river, and the dog walked across. The deer was still swimming halfway out. And that's how the dog becomes man's best friend. And these are the stories that you learn in these longhouses. These are the things that I believe in. I believe that the animal people were here first. I believe that they was here, but they couldn't get along. And when they couldn't get along no longer, they brought in another animal and put it in its place. And that's why they put us two-legged ones here. If you ever look at an animal, there is no difference between you and that animal. The only difference I see between an animal and a two-legged one, I could build this longhouse and they can't. They can see it, they can understand it, they can respect it, but they can't build it, but those two-legged ones can. So just remember these things as you come here. And when you bring your friends, tell them stories. Remind them of the respect that we have for one another. Remind them, if we listen to our elders, that our elders will carry on the things that we need in our life. And if we ever look at...
Thank you for watching. See you later, YouTube. Bye, Diego.